So I want to talk about the power of the mind and the emotional reaction that it can create within our body. And I'm going to use a couple examples. So the other morning, my 7-year-old daughter, we were having like morning cuddles and kind of goofing around, playing around as we normally do. And she was kind of playing this game because I was still kind of very sleepy. You know, she's young. She wakes me up early. And so I had my eyes closed, and she was kind of playing this game, like, you know, if Mama doesn't wake up, then I'm never going to give her any more cuddles and hugs and kisses, you know. And she was obviously trying to get me to get up because she knows how much I love cuddles and kisses. and so I kind of was like smirking. I was kind of smiling. Anyway, long story short, of course, I wake up and we have cuddles and kisses. But then she does this really weird thing where she got up and she went to the window and she kept on doing it. She kept on saying, oh, if Mama doesn't get up, I'm never ever going to give her hugs and kisses. And, you know, I kind of said, I don't remember exactly what I said, but I spoke a little bit of like, oh, you know, are we still playing this game? And she kept on doing it. And I could tell she had her back to me. She was looking out the window. But I could tell something was happening. Something was happening to her. Like this was no longer a game, or the game was turning into something different. And I kind of had invited her to like, okay, let's stop. Like, let's get up and go have breakfast. And she kept on going. And I decided to get up because it had been a while. And I just said, honey, like, I think we need to end this game. You know, we've got to get up. And she got herself into such a state where she came into the bathroom and she had tears. She literally had tears in her eyes. And I just was like, what's going on? What are you doing? Like, this isn't a game. Like you're having a real reaction here. And you know, she looked at me really sad, and I just said to her, this is showing you how powerful the mind is. And I said, because we had a really nice morning. You know how like mothers and daughters, every now and again, you can like get annoyed with each other and, you know, you get irritated, somebody gets upset, whatever. This wasn't the case at all. We had this really lovely time. It was really sweet. We were kind of chuckling and laughing. I was like finally getting up. It was all good. It was all fun and games, and we were laughing and we were having a nice time until she went to the window and started doing that. And so I just was like, wow, this is a really good lesson. This is the power of your mind. You take something and you keep on telling yourself, I'm never going to hug you again. I'm never going to kiss you again. And then you start to have this emotional reaction because you start to imagine, I'm never going to kiss my mom again. I'm never going to give her kisses again. She convinced herself so much that would happen that she began to cry. And I just said, like, I'm here. Like, of course you're going to give me hugs and kisses. Like, of course we're going to love each other forever. Look at how powerful your mind is. Look at what it did to your emotions, to your body. Look at how you reacted. And I said, you have to let it go. You've got to let this go because it's not real. And it was really interesting and powerful for me to observe it because I cannot tell you how many times I have done that myself. I have a very vivid imagination, which is what makes me good at visualizing, but it can go, you know, there's two sides to the same coin, right? And I'm a very emotionally centered person. So if I go into a story or think or visualize something, I will start to observe that my body has a reaction to it, and I will start to feel the emotions. So whether that is me going into a story of going, like, imagining a conflict with someone, I start to feel the anger, I start to feel the hurt, I start to feel the pain, almost to the point where I could cry. And I don't do this so much anymore because I've learned not to go there, basically. I've learned that it's imagination, right? It's false. It's not even something that's based on reality. And I used to do it a lot more when I was in my 20s. And I think I did it a lot more kind of with the boyfriends that I had, especially when I was kind of processing and working through my abandonment stuff. It was like I always imagined the worst case scenario of how they would betray me or disappoint me or, betray me was the biggest thing. And so I would imagine an argument, and I would feel the pain, and I would feel the hurt, and I would feel my anger, and I would feel the sadness, and then I would feel the abandonment, and then I would feel the loneliness. And I would literally go through the whole motions where I could bring myself to tears. And, being older and wiser and recognizing how this all works, every now and again, it's very rare that it happens it never happens like that anymore. But every now and again, I'll find that my mind goes into a story, but thank God I can go, oh, stop. What are you doing? What are you doing? What a waste of time, energy, suffering. That's what, suffering. And I can snap out of it very quickly. And there's a part, because I don't know if anybody knows the Enneagram, my Enneagram type has the propensity to be melancholic. There's the part that can almost feel the kind of addiction or comfort to oh, but I'm so used to that melancholic feeling. You can play into that visual or that imagination in a way, even though it's it hurts, but there's something oddly familiar and therefore comfortable about it, right? Because we are more comfortable with what we know, even if it doesn't serve us, than we are with the unknown, even if it serves us better. I say that all the time. But I can snap out of it. But again, the reason why I'm sharing this is because how many people, you have people like the Joe Dispenzas and the Bruce Liptons and the many, I even saw a great short clip with Simon Sinek talking about this as well. It's the mind is so powerful, right? It's almost annoying. It's almost become a cliche, especially in the spirituality world, the power of the mind. There's also the power of the heart, but you know what I mean? But it's true. Our thoughts have a profound influence and effect on us. And it's not to say that, I'm not of the school that's and therefore you have to always be positive and you always have to always be happy, or else you're going to attract bad things. No, I'm not of that school of thought at all. I don't like to compartmentalize or judge things or measure things as positive or negative. Everything is an experience. Everything is to be learned from. And it's all part of the human experience that actually, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but the more that we can embrace the shadow, the more that we can respect all of our emotions, even the ones that are uncomfortable, in my opinion, my experience, the more liberated we become. Because when we deny a part of us, it's like saying, no, this limb doesn't belong to me. But it does. It's a part of your body. So you better accept it and love it and use it to, the best that you can, and take care of it. Take care of it. So if you have anger, take care of your anger. If you have fear, take care of your fear. If you have sadness, take care of your sadness. None of these things are something to resist, deny, ignore, push away. So with that said, it's so, part of why I think I'm so passionate about what I would call the authentic self, or really about just coming home to ourselves and accepting and embracing our entire selves, is that we get to know ourselves more when we do that. We get to know ourselves more if we stay long enough with our experience to figure out, well, who am I beneath the thought, beneath the emotion, beneath the identity? I think I shared maybe in one of my first couple podcasts around what really shifted my life perspective and my relationship to myself was when I had to leave the ballet when I was 21 years old, and I had to ask myself for the first time, who am I without the identity of being a dancer? And that set me on my path. You could say it was a spiritual journey, but it definitely set me on my path, on my growth path, you could say. So the more that I'll just use myself as an example, the more that I start to understand myself and kind of what are my fears, what are my insecurities, what triggers me, what ticks me, what is the language of Corinne? Or I could even go into the soul. That's another thing, right? There's the soul, there's the personality in my perspective. But once I get to know the language of my body, of my emotions, my thoughts, my patterns, my habits, my beliefs, my wounds, and everything that entails, I can decipher things a lot more. And I'm not sitting here preaching like I have it figured out. I will never sit here and do that like I'm including myself in all of this, and I don't think there's ever a point of arrival. because I hope to evolve for the rest of my life. I still have my shit. I still get triggered. I still get insecure. I have my humanity, I think the thing is I just accept it more, and I can understand it more, or I understand how to be with it more when it arises. But my God, I still have my crap to be with, let's put it that way. But it's just really interesting to have, enough awareness of oneself, enough familiarity. It's like any relationship, right? We want to know our partners. We want to know our children. We want to know our family. But actually, how much do we want to know ourselves? I think a lot of our society is like, no, ignore yourself. Let's distract you over here. Let's distract you over there. Put on this shiny thing. Watch this fun thing. Anything to like actually sit and be with yourself, because it can be fucking uncomfortable, right? And yet, I will say it a million times over, it's hugely liberating, because then things like this happen where you're like, wow, yeah, the power of our thoughts. So going back to what I was saying before, is how many of us are living where most of our reality is a projection of what we're afraid might happen. It's like the term 99% of my fears never happened, right? So much is in the mind. So much is this like anticipation of, could it be? Might it happen? And how often does it actually become that? Now, you'd have the kind of whatever school of thinking philosophy that would say, well, yeah, but if you think that, you will create that, you will manifest that, and therefore it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. And then you go, see, life is like that. The thing is that I don't like to, there's a lot around the law of attraction that it's like, well, if you put out negative thoughts, you're going to attract negativity, right? And that you keep yourself in that loop. Sure, that could be true. I think the terminology that I've come to, which I prefer, the way that I personally would explain it, is that's what we see. Maybe it's not what we attract, maybe, but that's what we see. We see that because our beliefs and our perspectives and the belief that we have in our mind that is like, right, that's the lens. I say this with clients all the time. Imagine that your beliefs are like a tinted colored lens. So you put on a pair of glasses and they're tinted red. That is your belief. And what we want to get to is that the lenses are clear so that you can actually see what is in front of you. Because majority of the time what we're seeing is a projection. And, we could get into quantum physics and go deep on this stuff, which that would be fun, but I'm not going to do that now. But I do like that stuff. But, our experience, that's what's amazing about existence, right? Is each and every single one of us, you could say, is the perspective of consciousness through this personality, right? Through my eyes, through my lens, through my thoughts, beliefs, experiences, right? Which is going to be different to yours, which is going to be different to somebody else's. But what I mean by all of this is that I will see what I believe. And that, I think, is really profound. If I believe that the world is shit, I'm only going to see shit. Now, it might be shit, but it's not all shit. You know what I mean? There are absolutely aspects of life that are crap. But if I focus on the crap and I only focus on the crap, then yeah, it's going to be crap all the time, 24/7. Whereas if I'm open to the beauty, or if I'm, or how do I react to the crap? How do I respond, actually? I know I've made that distinction in the past, where reaction to me is when we're unconscious and we're reacting, we're triggered by something. And responding is when we're conscious and we're actually able to take a pause and go, okay, how do I want to choose to respond in this situation? So like one of my biggest gripes about where I live is I don't live in a city, I live in the countryside, but drivers drive me crazy because it's just a one lane, single lane, one going up, one going down. And there are a lot of bad drivers and they're really slow and there's a lot of bends. And so sometimes a trip kind of going up the mountain that should take like 20 minutes can take a half an hour because of the people that are driving. And so it really gets me. It really can piss me off. And again, it's like, okay, but when I go into that, you know, I end up feeling like crap because I just am angry. But then, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going to give a personal example of what happened today. On the way to the beach, I was so irritated. I was so irritated with drivers. I was really irritated. But on the way back, I was so chilled because I just had like the whole afternoon with my daughter swimming in the sea, playing in the waves. So I had a totally different perspective. I was really chilled. And yeah, there were slow drivers. I was able to pass some I wasn't, but it was like, it was okay. So again, perspective, right? The state of being that we're in, how we're choosing to see the situation. You know, maybe that's very simplified. Obviously, there are some experiences which would go deeper and there's more emotional triggers within them. But I think the perspective still holds, right? So anyway, I just wanted to share that because I just thought, you know, looking at my 7-year-old and being like, wow, she brought herself into a reality that was completely based off of imagination. And we can do that in a good, positive way as well, right? And sometimes that's a whole other thing. We can get stuck in fantasy. But again, just the power of the mind and what that does to us on a physical level. So if I were to put that into what's going on into the world, I'm just thinking this at the top of my mind. If we are projecting fear of what could happen, you know, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of pointing the finger. There's all of these things, but how much of that is just kind of a manipulation of what's going on in our head? Like, I don't want to go into what's going on in the world actually, but I'm just, because I kind of at times tune out because there's just so much noise. But even if I were just to energetically feel it, I feel a lot of that, and fear being probably one of the most overriding energies that's been existing in the last year and a half for all sorts of reasons, right? And I think fear is very dominant, very dominating energy and emotion in general, and I don't think we have the best ways. We haven't really been taught good ways to be with fear. From an emotional perspective, I've learned, I think I did a podcast on this, like embrace it, embrace your fear. It deserves love. It deserves to be held. Fear gets worse when we abandon ourselves in the midst of it. So, but again, how much do we have to say, okay, but what's actually in front of me? Am I okay? Am I healthy? Are my loved ones healthy? Is it a beautiful day? You know, what am I doing today? What am I eating? What am I experiencing? Like, is it good? Okay, great. Feel that. But like to be in a constant state of fear, then like, yeah, that's all we will see. That's all we'll project. That's all we'll manifest. That's all we'll see is just everything is scary, you know? So I'm going to stop rambling now, but I just, going back to my daughter, I just thought it was so amazing to see it happen, unfolding before my eyes and thinking, God, yeah, I've done that. And it's just not worth it. It's just simply not worth it. So, you know, when that arises, I've just learned to go, this isn't real. It's just not real. Like, okay, come back to center, come back to yourself, come back home. Everything is okay. Okay, maybe that was a fear. You know, who knows what that was? Who knows where it came from? But like, come back. Is it real now? No, don't worry about it. Let it go. Being human, hey? Ain't no easy thing, that's for sure. Anyway, take it or leave it as always, and sending you love from afar.